Hello and welcome to the Somewhat Daily Backup for Monday, the 12th of October. I'm your host, Nick Boy Richardson, and I'm joined by Peter the Woodsman Burns. Peter, there he is. He's got his own bit as well. And it's appropriate because Gus's bit is like digital and yours is physical. Yeah. And this is what you guys are.
I'm a physical man.
You're a physical man.
I'm a physical being.
How are you, physical man?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I had a coffee. My stomach's a little grumbly.
Oh, no.
So I might have to dash at some point during the
God,
show.
that bad?
Nah, it's not that bad. I'll be fine.
You gonna shit yourself?
I'll be fine.
You gonna do a little poopsie?
If you see this face, know that I stuck it through for you guys. I'm sorry to start the morning off like that.
That is a terrible way to start our day. That is.
You asked me how my body was, and I was too honest.
You were too honest. That's That's. I'm sorry, everybody. I had to hear that. But how is everybody else doing? I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I certainly did. I also feel like it was one of those weekends, while very enjoyable, did not feel like I got a weekend, and now suddenly we're back to Hell Week. And so, if I suddenly do this, it's because I've fallen asleep. And Pete, you just need to take over.
Fair. Yeah, I feel like I've got Monday-itis for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I think it's just the end of the year, right? Plus, we've got not a good couple of months coming up.
No, it's a scary couple of months. And I think
a good couple of months, but not a good couple of months.
Intense.
Yeah.
Steph and I are binging Friends, and it's kind of because I now mentally live in that work.
Yeah,
that's the only world I want to be in.
Yeah,
I just want to be hanging out at coffee houses all the time,
not going to work unless work presents interesting comedic opportunities
or romantic opportunities.
Exactly. like your Rachel measuring up pants on different men that she wants to. Enjoy the company.
Phoebe molesting men that she's massaging.
God, so many great episodes. I finished that whole show halfway through this year, and it's just like it is one of those things. I saw some articles. I think I spoke about this anyway. I saw some articles of people saying like, Friends, upon rewatching Friends, it's terrible because like Friends should be cancelled, and it's the most unwoke show ever. And it's like, yeah, it was made in the 90s. Everyone was fucking awful in the 90s. Like, I don't know. As long as we acknowledge these things, I think there's no problem going back and enjoying these things, as long as we acknowledge that that's not how we are in some of these things now. But my God, Friends, you want an easy watch? Watch the fucking Friends.
And there's some great one-liners in there. Yes, it's problematic, but it's a relic of the past.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not going to say that. Let's just move on instead to all the people, to someone who is not problematic, and that is today's Pocketeer Patron Extraordinaire, Kelsey. Not only not problematic, it's Kelsey's 30th birthday today. Happy birthday, Kelsey.
Kelsey Grammer's only 30?
I know. He doesn't look well, actually, he looks bad. He looks like at least double that. How old is Kelsey Grammer?
He's got to be 95.
Although we did talk about not problematic, and Kelsey Grammer, wildly conservative Republican, 65 years old. So he's more than
what
double.
A voice.
What a voice. Yeah. So happy birthday to Kelsey and to Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey is just 30. And Kelsey, you've been shouted out by your partner, Snorball, who said that it's your birthday today, signed up to the Patreon, but actually signed up on your behalf. So this is part of your gift, I suppose, to you. I would also, I don't know what the situation is like in these current economic times, and who am I to judge? But I would make sure that they also got you something else. I feel like this is not, don't let this be the only.
Yeah. Don't let my bowel movements be the gift that your partner gave you.
Exactly. So Kelsey,
demand more.
Demand more. May your day be filled with joy and excitement, and may you never know what it feels like to be woken at 2 a.m. on the night of your daughter's first birthday last week by your son blowing a party blower directly into his bedroom monitor. So I hope you never experience that. And to those who have, that help. Happy birthday, Kelsey. Is that all? Is that all
Happy birthday, Kelsey.
Is that all the shit we need to do before we get into the news?
I think there's one other person we need to.
Oh yeah,
thank
but
before we
I'm
end the news.
associating him with the news.
He is the news.
I think it's very clear. We don't talk about Tim unless it's associated with the news.
So let's talk about
news.
Tim.
We will talk about Tim because this is the Somewhat Daily Backup sponsored by Tim, !Tim from the Learn Programming Academy. Download his guide now at lpa.dev/backpockettim. Making some of the best tutorials I've ever seen about anything and everything in my life. Everything that I have any skill or talent with has come from watching a video tutorial.
Yeah.
Pete, I remember when we were setting up the studio, you're constantly Googling, what is this cable? And you watch a 45-minute video called This is an HDMI cable.
There's already someone else who's had the same problems you're having, and they've made a YouTube video about it.
Isn't that it's
a wonderful resource.
It is so exciting that is the world that we live in, that I think there's a lot of problems with the internet. And Tim may be one of them. Speaking of problematic people, we may find out that Tim needs to get cancelled. But until now, Tim hasn't been cancelled. But one of the great things about the internet is that you could look up basically any issue you've ever had in your entire life, be it technical or something about your willy, and there is someone out there who has had that issue and is fixing it right now. And oftentimes they use the same things. It's mainly just methylated spirits. It fixes both of those problems.
And I consider the Learn Programming Academy to be YouTube without all the other bullshit that YouTube has.
Oh, that's good.
Like the comment section. Stop commenting on our videos, please. We don't want them.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Don't give
I appreciate every comment, and I read them all, but I don't respond to them all. But sometimes I'm logged in as back pocket, and sometimes I'm logged in as me, and I'm like, how do I navigate this dangerous world?
That's true. And so someone that absolutely does do. Oh, that was too low. Someone who does do the Lord's work is Tim. Tim has so many programs and tutorials about programming available on his website. They're all video-based. They're easy to watch. You don't need to read anything. #never read. That's Tim's motto. They're for all skill levels. You can watch them offline on your phone, and most of them are under $20. So I don't know what you're doing watching us. Leave us right now and go learn something. You're not going to learn it. Like, let's be honest. Anyone who watches video game news shows or listens to video game news podcasts or whatever, you have already heard all of the news. You have followed all of the news. You are now just entering the echo chamber that we love about video games, which is I just want to hear people I know talk about the things that I know so that I can either agree with them or be frustrated that they don't agree with me.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. But I feel like you learn things on this show.
No,
not necessarily about games.
Okay.
But about life.
Yeah, sure. You know what it looks like. Today you learned what Pete looks like when he sucks in a poop. There you go. Thank God we don't have any real sponsors on this show. By the way, I just wanted to point out, Dino Scale Kara, you guys are wearing me down. A few months ago, I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. And now I'm like, maybe I could learn some programming. Kara, if you do, just do one course. Just take a screenshot of the one you're going to do. Send it to us. Let us know how it goes. Because I feel like that's the kind of feedback that Tim would just be gagging for right now.
Absolutely.
And big thank you to Obnoxious Bishop for gifting some subs. Gifting some lovely subs to some of the lovely people. And then Slim joins in, subscribes to the Prime. And then suddenly we've got a train going, a hype train going. Do the thing. Give us bits. Subscribe to the channel to unlock some cool emotes and to help us feed our kids, even though they party blow us in at 2 a.m. in the morning. That's not the expression that I was looking for, but use party blowers at 2 a.m. in the morning is probably more what I was trying to say. So thank you very much. Okay. I feel like I jumped in at the end of a 20-minute Nick Blast, says Lucky Sloth. If it does feel like that, should we get into the actual news? Should we start newsing?
Well, apparently the YouTube channel is doing something. I'm just going to quickly look at that. But yes,
let's. What do you mean the YouTube channel is doing what? We're live on YouTube?
Restream's freaking out. I'm just going to toggle it. I'm going to toggle it and see what happens.
Oh yeah, we are live on YouTube.
We are live on YouTube, but we're not live on YouTube.
Are we always live on YouTube?
No, we're never live on YouTube until the post show. That's when we're live on YouTube.
Yeah.
But Restream sometimes freaks out and the toggles aren't working properly.
Yeah, right.
Like on a refresh, but we'll see what happens.
Because there were 6 people watching, and now they're screwed. All right, let's jump into the actual news for today, ladies and gentlemen. Story number 1, and it is a shame that Gus is not here because this is not only a story for him, it's a story about him. Pete, Crucible, how would you describe it?
I would say cancelled before release, if I had to say anything about it.
Pretty amazing. Crucible, the free-to-play shooter put out by Amazon Games, has been cancelled. I mean, it came out in beta before. They then removed the beta and went, oh, we need to work on this a lot more. And so said, we're going back into a closed beta. And then they wanted to continue development with feedback from a small group of players. In the statement that they put out on October 9th, they said, in July, we moved Crucible into a closed beta. We made a list of features we felt would enhance the player experience, which we shared publicly on our roadmap. And with the exception of custom games, which we expect to ship in the coming days, so there's still something coming. I don't quite understand how that works. We completed them all. With those features shipped, our next step was to evaluate the feedback we've heard from you, paired with the data we've collected, to determine our path forward. That evaluation has led us to a difficult decision. We will be discontinuing development on Crucible. And that's pretty astounding that they were like, they go out, people are like, no. They go back into closed, but there is a group of people who go, okay, we're going to help you with this. We're going to give you a ton of feedback. And then Amazon Games looked at that feedback and just went, we can't do this. Like you don't like a single thing about our games, or this is too hard to implement, or this is an entirely different strategy, and we're just going to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously tough decision, probably the right one based on the reaction to it. It's one of those things where if they launch it and then they, Amazon have the money they could have just made the call and go, all right, we're just going to support this for the next 2 years, and sink a whole bunch of money into it. And hope that we start making money back because people start to fall in love with the game. But they made the call that people were never going to fall in love with whatever they had here. So, maybe we'll see a bit of the Overwatch effect of like Titan becoming Overwatch. Maybe we'll see Crucible kind of get pulled apart and used in other Amazon games.
Well, considering it kind of is Overwatch, maybe it'll get pulled apart and put into a massive MMO.
The MMO, which is New Worlds or whatever
totally.
Amazon one is. So it's like, the devs are getting pulled across to different parts of the game studios, Amazon Game Studios. And it's sad. This little jumpy squirrel dude looks cute.
Scully,
as long as he gets used in something, I'm satisfied that Crucible was not all for naught.
Get Jumpy their own game. Scully in the chat says the jumping movement is already annoying me just from the video play. I grabbed a clip of this gameplay yesterday, and the second comment from Next says, for some odd reason, the constant hopping is getting on my nerves. Totally. And so I reckon the jumping could be a huge thing. And the developers were just like, I'm sorry. It's built into the engine. They can't not jump. It's the only way this game runs. Everyone was like, fantastic game, just less jumping. And they were like, that's the one thing we can't change. So unfortunately, you don't get a game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are characters who run around on legs, but this guy's got little hoppy legs. And you're right. The more I look at it, the more annoying it is. I also saw a comment that was like, it's going to be so sad when you get behind cover, but because of your little bounce animation, your head keeps popping up and you get headshotted behind cover.
By the way, we're still streaming on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop it.
All right. Yeah, cool.
I can't work it out. I tried to. Yeah. It didn't work.
Who gives a shit? You can watch on YouTube. So Crucible developers will move on to other Amazon game titles, including The New World, which is their upcoming MMO. And then that is set to launch in spring 2021. It's had a couple of delays itself. And Pac-Man Live Studio, which is a version of Pac-Man that you basically play on Twitch. It's like Twitch plays Pokemon, but Pac-Man. That was supposed to be out in June, but it's still not out, and the game's website says coming soon. This, on top of everything, that Breakaway was a game from 2018 that Amazon Game Studios was developing and was cancelled in March 2018 as well. So I just feel like Amazon Game Studios do not have a great track record of delivering literally anything. So it is, obviously they've launched Luna as well. They want to get into games in some capacity. I feel like between Amazon and Google, these massive companies are like, oh yeah, we can get some of that sweet game pie, but it's harder to make video games than it looks.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, these companies have so much money that they're like, we need to spend heaps of money, so I mean, not that they pay tax, but
Yeah, but so we
pay
can,
a little less
yeah.
tax.
Do we need anything?
so-
M&Ms?
we're on our last barrel of Skittles.
And I don't think we have any peanut M&Ms left as well.
Oh. All right, I'm going to get rid of this footage because people are mad at the jumping.
People hate the jumping.
They hate it.
So there you go. So Crucible cancelled before release. I cannot believe that Gus called it. I mean, he didn't call it about that. He called it about the wrong game. But the fact that that became a thing, and then this is the first time I've really ever heard this happening, is pretty astounding.
Well, I mean, games get cancelled before release, heaps, just not necessarily having already been out in the public eye.
That's what I meant, of course. Yeah. Well, I also meant Gus being right. That was the other part.
That's true. Yeah, that is weird. That feels weird.
That feels weird. Skittles, you say?
Yeah, let's get some Skittles.
Let's get some Skittles. Chat, do you want anything? You let me know.
This Spazros, is this more cancelled after release? It was still beta.
Yeah.
It was still a beta test, so it's not really released.
Yeah, I don't think that is release. I don't think that's release. Okay, moving on now to games that you can't play to games that you can play.
What?
And Sony have come out and confirmed that 99% of PS4 games are going to be backwards compatible, which is something that Sony have not really given a lot of information about backwards compatibility. Was Microsoft, that's been the thing that they've kind of been driving. Microsoft we have Games Pass, and all of the games that you currently have and love play better on the new system, because we don't actually have any games to play on this new system. So Sony have been holding their shot a little bit longer than we were expecting. And then it turns out that, yes, 99% of your current PlayStation titles will be playable. There's a list that they've got on their website of 10 games.
Hit me.
That you cannot play. Pete, I want you to tell me if any of these...
I'll tell you how I feel about each of them.
Are regular. Okay, cool. Afro Samurai 2, Revenge of Kuma Volume 1.
There's too many words for anyone to care about that.
DWVR.
There's too few words for people to care about that.
Hitman Go Definitive Edition.
Go fuck yourself.
Joe's Diner.
Did you say Joe's Diner?
I said Joe's Diner, but I will accept Joe's Diner. Yeah.
The famous Jewish film director.
Just deal with it.
That's Nike getting into video games. Bugger off.
Robinson the Journey.
Is this a Crusoe story?
Shadow Complex remastered.
Shadow Complex. Nah.
That's fine. What's his face doesn't get any money. We like that. Who did Shadow Complex? It's not the developers. It's the based on the game, based on the what was it?
I can't remember what Shadow Complex is. My mind is going to that weird little Cliffy B thing that he did with
Yeah, it was that. It was the side-scrolling one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Epic. Yeah. Chair.
But wasn't it built on who was it? Isn't Shadow Complex based on a? Isn't Shadow Complex the one that's based on a thing from the guy who wrote the fucking thing?
You know what it was based on.
Is it not that? No, it doesn't matter.
I don't think so.
Doesn't matter.
Let's move on.
Shardwen.
I love her music, but we're way past the 90s.
Okay, cool. TT Isle of Man, Ride on the Edge 2.
Did you say TT?
I didn't say TT. It's a motorcycle game.
No, it's not.
How do we feel about We Sing?
That can stay in the past. Okay, that's where it belongs.
So there you go. Those are the 10 games that Sony have confirmed will not run on the PlayStation 5. Fascinated to find out why they won't run on the PlayStation 5. But I'm guessing We Sing has something to do with microphones.
I think by choice. They actively sabotage whatever emulation they're running to make sure it doesn't work.
That's funny. By the way, Toad333 says, this feels like two people with memory issues decided to make a podcast. It's very early in the morning. I did see some people saying that PT is safe.
How does that work, though? Because you can't download PT anymore. It has to be on your hard drive.
Yeah, but you can transfer it to a hard drive and then transfer that hard drive.
Double transfer. Okay, that's cool.
So PT continues.
Yeah. I did see that it was like the same deal with Microsoft. They're all untested. I think PlayStation are going to just let you put a disc in and see what happens. And it should work. But the way that Microsoft is rolling out the 360 backwards compatibility on the Xbox One was they were verifying each game worked before releasing them as a official backwards compatible title. So I kind of like the open slather thing. There's no particular reason why they shouldn't work. The architecture is pretty similar. It's not as big a leap as like the 3 to 4 and well, I guess I can't remember what the architecture was on the PS3. But anyway,
the cell-based architecture?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you can just plug anything in and see if it works. You'll obviously need the disc version of the PlayStation to do that, though.
Yes, and if you want those games to run, there's obviously Sony don't tie a game's code to your account. So yes, if you want your old ones to run and they're not digital, then you are going to need to put that disc in there. But it's good to know that they'll be supported. They haven't mentioned how well they'll run, but I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they'll kind of run in the same way that Xbox does, which is we just have so much grunt that it will keep things at a steady clip in the same way that Xbox does without any major improvements over how things look or anything.
Yeah, it'll be, and it's probably true of some of those games that you listed before. It'll be things that were specifically tailored to hardware and coded to a frame rate kind of things that, doubling the frame rate doubles the speed of play kind of thing. It actually needs to be a locked frame rate.
Yep.
Those kind of little like development tricks are the things that are going to catch them out here. So it'll be interesting to see what games break as well, because I'm sure like they're just like, try them.
Yeah, totally.
There'll be some defunct developer somewhere that like, we made BlazBlue 18 and the dragons now fly upside down because the way we coded it on the PS4 was to invert all the pixels.
Yeah, totally. There's also some news came out about transferring game saves as well, because obviously that if there are games coming out, particularly like if you're restarting something, then that's probably fine. But if there are games you're playing now that you'll want to play on the PlayStation 5 when it comes out, that transferring PS4 saves to PS5 will be possible, but it is down to individual developers to be able to support it. So an example given was that Spider-Man Miles Morales saves will be transferable from PS4 to PS5, but cross-generational saves won't be supported between the PlayStation 4 version of Spider-Man and the PlayStation 5 remaster of Spider-Man, because I guess technically they're two separate games. You're not just playing the PS5. You're not just playing the same game on the PlayStation 5. You're actually playing a different game. Yakuza Like a Dragon saves won't be transferable. Dirt 5 saves won't be transferable. But Ghost of Tsushima save will be transferable. So
cool.
You're just going to have to look, see which ones you want to play. But I like the fact that I've got a few games, Ghost of Tsushima being one of them, that I kind of just dip in and out of, and so the idea that I'll be able to continue to dip in and out of them on PlayStation 5 is nice. So hopefully all the big ones will get supported, and it won't be too much of a hassle.
Yeah, and I guess because we're talking about a pretty like slim pickings launch window for both consoles as well. It's like you'll finish Miles Morales within the first couple of days of picking it up as like a 15-hour title or whatever, if you go hard.
Yeah.
But people are going to want to play The Witcher 3 again with like better graphics or a more stable frame rate or things that are big and chunky that they can jump back into. And it would be nice if there was game save compatibility for those things that you could bring up and across as well in the backwards compatible side of things.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have information on that, but like if that's been announced, that just because you can play a PS4 game doesn't necessarily mean it's still going to be tied to your game save, like it is with the Xbox, because Xbox, like the interface and back end has kind of been the same thing across the Xbox One and PC and now Series X as well.
Yeah, they're sort of built into the system is that cloud-based saving stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Does that include achievements? Trophies, you mean? I'm just making sure you're talking, it says Slim, that you are talking about PS4. I am not sure. I don't think has there been any word on PS4, PS5 achievements?
I think I imagine the trophy system's staying.
The trophy system is changing.
Yeah, it's changing. I think it's staying, but it's changing. I think it already changed. Like it changed for PS4 owners last week.
Yeah, right. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
The trophies you earn will scale to your overall level. Right. Okay. The current system, which is being used for the PS4 console, sees you progress from level 1 to level 100. The slow number rises the more trophies you get, with bronze, silver, gold, and platinum trophies contributing differently to your overall level. So now,
I think once you hit level 100, you'll get sent a letter from the Queen congratulating you on all your trophies as well. So
just be like, you're amazing. Okay, cool.
You are amazing.
You are amazing. By the way, I found it. So Shadow Complex, inspired by a story by Orson Scott Card, the author of Ender's Game, and also author of some truly horrific views about homosexuality. So I remember when Shadow Complex, like 2 weeks before it came out, people were like, "Oh, boycott the game because Orson Scott Card is going to get money from this, and he's a monster." So that's what I was trying to think of, and I knew it was there. It was there in my head. I found it. We're all good. What else did we find? We found out what the inside of the PS5 looks like as well, sticking with the PlayStation 5 news, when Sony went full Digital Foundry on us.
Yeah, I love this video. This is the best thing any console creator has released on YouTube ever.
Yeah. So PlayStation, I mean, look at this.
The first thing I would say, and my immediate reaction when I first saw this though was, get a basketball player to do this teardown.
You have to.
Because the console looks bigger than the man who's pulling it apart.
You could put a head on it and I could mistake it for the guy.
Yeah. I'm like, which one's going to get torn open?
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, maybe they're just not shying away from it at this point and just going, you know what? It is the size of Nick's 1-year-old.
a human torso.
Yeah. It's enormous, but it looks. I don't mind the look of it when it's standing up. I think when it's lying down, I don't like the look of it. But when it's standing up, I'm going to tuck it behind this monitor right here. I think it's going to look pretty nice.
Not being seen.
Not being seen.
It's going to look being nice behind things. We saw some excellent stuff. This stand is like great little bit of engineering.
Is magic. Yeah.
Really clever, super simple, like single screw, and it's got a little cap to cover up the hole where you it's beautiful design
and like a place to store the screw.
Yeah. And
look at that!
Look at that! Gorgeous. And then it just obviously that's how you transfer it across to the horizontal mode. There's little notches there. See,
lying down, that just takes up so much space. Look at it.
Yeah, it's also like you shouldn't do this, but the Xbox you can put stuff on top of, and I just mean things like you can put your controller on top of it when you're done playing. Yeah. Whereas you put a controller on that and it goes.
So then, over the course of the video, they sort of break this down. These two massive removable faceplates, which has got people in the customizing community very excited because they can easily customize this thing to basically look like not at all a PlayStation 5, I suppose.
Yeah.
You can put anything on there. You've got the fan there. I mean, for me, the biggest takeaway is if you skip towards the end.
Well, this is clever as well. These are actually vacuum ports.
Oh, yeah.
Super accessible just to help you clean out the system. Very clever.
I was told that you're not ever supposed to put a vacuum near a computer because of static charging. So I think that they've shielded the innards in a way that allows this to now be a safe action.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they've done static electricity wise, but I guess it is like a big plastic surface.
Yeah, it probably disperses in a safe way. But I remember doing something with my PC, and it was like, don't put a vacuum on it, just use compressed air. So now they seem to have fixed that, which is cool.
You wanted to jump forward to a bit because we can come back to this spot.
The heat sink. Oh no! If you want to go through, we could go through this. Do you want to go through? You've got interesting stuff to say about this. This is your.
Well, this is like
sketchy thick.
This is we've seen the little SSD proprietary cards from Microsoft.
Yep.
This is the port for the M.2 expansion SSD for the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
As far as pulling a console apart, really accessible, and yeah, it's very easy to install. It's a single screw. Very clever that that's accessible. The at the moment, the only not even confirmed by PlayStation, but confirmed by the hardware creators. Samsung have an M.2 drive ready to go. The terabyte version is more expensive than the terabyte Xbox expansion.
Right.
It is like $10 more per terabyte, but the benefit of it being non-proprietary, this slot, is that across the generation, the hardware should become significantly cheaper than a proprietary version. So once Samsung released their second version and West Digital and everyone gets involved and is making compatible M.2 NVMe for it, it's going to get a lot cheaper.
So sorry, it takes a proprietary one, or it takes a
this takes a standard. Well, it's the newest version of the M.2 NVMe SSD storage,
right?
But it is not owned by Sony.
Okay,
It is a non-proprietary hardware. So there's a bunch of companies making these SSDs, and so you'll be able to have competition in the market, which should drive prices down across the next 12 months. Buying it at launch is going to be more expensive, probably, than buying the Xbox proprietary one. Mm-hmm. It is $10 more in the States for Samsung's 1 terabyte, but it's it's bound to drop a lot quicker than Microsoft will be willing to drop the price of their proprietary one. Because
right.
I mean, of all the challenges with proprietary, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the fact that it is really easy to install, it's not as easy, obviously, as the Microsoft plug and play, but it is pretty simple to access and should be reasonably accessible to anyone who cares about expanding their storage, I would think.
Totally, yeah. If you're looking at putting more storage into your console, then you're probably fine removing one faceplate and a screw. So, yeah, not
this
too
guy
bad.
just recklessly voids his warranty here.
Insane.
Look at him go. So everything that's happened so far has been fine for warranty.
And then that. and also it's like, these are so hard to get a hold of. Like they've been sold out. Yeah. And this guy is just, he not only voids the warranty, he literally takes it apart piece by piece. Like he's a serial killer dismembering the body. Solid fan.
That's a nice little fan, isn't it?
Yep. I like that.
Or the two big intakes at the top. Or maybe they're exhaust at the top and that's the intake there. I don't know. There are actually, if you watch it on YouTube, you can watch with closed captions on and listen to it in English because it's a lot easier to understand in a language that you speak.
It's interesting. I wonder, because you've got the version that has, this is obviously the disc version because that was the Blu-ray drive. Without the disc version, I'm assuming then because the form factor is different, that space is not an empty space. That space is kind of closed up by the fact that it isn't there. So they just there's not like a gap in the discless ones that just is more flush.
Yeah, I would imagine. This is. I'll just touch on this as well. This little array is the. I think he points it out in a second here.
The liquid metal.
Well, there's the Zen 2. And there's some kind of new like heat paste on top of it, thermal paste on top of it. But this is the SSD array, the internal storage. Oh, that's the RAM. Hang on, where's this thing? So this is the SSD controller, and the SSD is sitting around it. Mm-hmm. It's all soldered in, which is kind of crazy. It's probably fine. But it means that if it fails, the hardware is pretty fucked.
The whole thing needs to go.
Yeah, it's not really a hot swappable drive that you can send it to the local Sony factory and they can go boom, boom, done. It's it's 825 gigabytes, I think, so not a full terabyte, which will annoy anyone who's playing COD because there's 175 gig not there for one part of that game. But the concern that I've seen online is that if this stuff fails, it could kill the system.
Yep.
Make it just not worth repairing. But they have such, like, I think it's something like 600 terabytes of transfer on this SSD before it reaches its like failure point.
So that's basically like wear and tear that you can put on it. Like that's the amount of data you can transfer back and across before they start to go, oh, this might.
Yeah. So that's way more than most people are going to use in the life of this generation, this whole next generation. 600 terabytes is a lot, particularly when you think, sure, a game is 2 terabytes each, but you're not necessarily going to play 300 games on your PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
there will be very few people who reach that point.
Yeah,
so it's probably safe, but it's just a thing that people were worried about. And then the joy of this whole pull down is the here we go, the liquid metal,
which is very cool.
Very cool.
How cool is that?
I know, it's sick. This whole thing is so sick. There it is, the spaceship.
There she is. So that's
the USS Enterprise.
Because the reports that had come out from Japan of those influencers last week who got their hands on the console said that it is very, very quiet. And it looks like the heatsink, the fan, and the liquid metal are all doing their thing to be able to really keep this thing whisper quiet. And now when you look at that, you understand why the content console is so big.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, it's like, that's Japanese engineering, right? It's like every bit of space has been used efficiently.
And then it's covered awesome in something really gaudy. It's like super efficient and elegant, and then neon on the outside. A very cool teardown. I really like the fact that they did this, and then it's an official one coming out. I think that's
absolutely,
that's very neat. And then this looks like I can put this back together as well. This doesn't look that hard. I need a massive white table, but other than that, and look at him at the end. He's just like, there you go. I did it.
Yeah. He's not smiling.
No,
he's like that was a very clinical, maybe sensual thing for him.
Well, or he's like, I designed this, and now I'm ripping it apart on camera for your enjoyment. Maybe he feels some level of guilt.
Maybe
that's what I like to think. So there you go. That's what the inside of something that you'll probably never see the inside of looks like. Now you know. All right. Next up, we've got Cyberpunk employees. So the Cyberpunk obviously had been delayed a couple of times, and then we heard word last week that they are going to be crunching to get the game out by next month. It is out in just a little over a month, and there was some news that Cyberpunk, the devs or CD Projekt Red, obviously had come out and said that we aren't going to do crunch, we don't believe in crunch, blah blah blah, and then we are doing crunch. On the Game Informer show, Liana Rupert goes into detail on the previous claim that the CD Projekt Red bosses imposed a mandatory 6-day week on developers, saying, quote, "From what I understand from talking to people there was a discussion about do we want to delay the game again, or do we want to do this? From what I understand, it was a mass majority agreeing to the 6-day work week." Finally, Rupert says that there is a big difference between the American and Polish work cultures, and that no one I spoke to over there saw it as crunch. So apparently an overwhelming amount of people in the studio voted that, yes, they did want to just go heads down on this rather than push it again. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to comment on this stuff. It's like, if they were happy to do it, then more power to them, man. I've been in that same situation where it's just like, let's just get this shit done,
Yep.
and we don't have to think about it ever again.
Yeah,
Obviously,
totally.
as far as a game release goes, there's going to be a huge part of that team that gets to move on to the next thing. But
Yeah.
there is going to be a massive part of that team as well that's like, all right, now we've got to support this fucking thing for the next like 6 months of rollout and
then multiplayer's
downloadable
coming
content
and
then,
yeah.
So yes, a 6-day work week is what we would consider crunch here, and I think I think that's I don't know the studio culture. I feel like that's effective management if it was actually taken to everyone and done in a democratic way of like,
Yeah.
this is what we need to achieve as a company. We're giving you the choice of delaying again or getting it done, and let's make a decision together, and then let's all get behind each other and get it done. As long as they were compensated for their work, like I can't really find a fault in that if that's the choice that the devs made as well. So
Yeah, and Gazra in the
know.
chat. Oh no, sorry, not Gazra. Who was it? Arcade Blob says happy to do it. Could also be them knowing their livelihoods is on the line. Yeah, I mean, there's just tons of stuff that goes into this, and we spoke about it last time we spoke about this, about the idea that like it can be everyone could agree to it, but you agree to it because you feel like you don't want to be the person that doesn't agree to this. Yeah, I feel like it's a very very difficult thing to get in there. And there was an article on Bloomberg around this, with Jason Schreier obviously doing more of his stuff, where he's talking about this. This is only the newest instance of crunch at the studio, that they did actually crunch for a few months to get the demo done that people saw at E3. They admitted at the beginning of the year that they would be crunching. They admitted during an investor call that they would be crunching. So yeah, it just feels like this is just something that the industry is grappling with. I feel like a lot of industries grapple with this stuff. The big difference, and I've been thinking about why the video game one gets reported on so much more. And obviously, there's not a lot of businesses. Yeah, no unions, and there's also not a lot of businesses that have, or industries that have the kind of behind the scenes investment from the general public, or sort of like interest in how these things are made and further around releases and stuff. You've got the film industry, you've got the tech industry, and you've got the games industry, were the three, and potentially the music industry that I could think of being like, we care about how these things are made, whereas most other things, no one thinks about how stuff gets made. So yes, accountants crunch and lawyers crunch, but it never gets reported on. The big difference that I'd sort of landed on with this is that a lot of game developers are contractors and freelancers. So you crunch on a project, and then at the end of that project, you get let go because it's out and it's done, and then you need to go find another job, and you probably go to another job that then begins crunching again. So you might actually be bouncing from crunch to crunch. It's there are employees.
I think there are crunch experts out there. There are people who are employed to just get their asses handed to them for a few months at a time, and then see you later.
Which, like, if I was in my 20s and I was like, hey, I'm 20 to 26 or something, and I don't have a family and not a huge amount of commitments, and I can make a ton of money doing crunch, then yeah, maybe I would want to do that. But when it just becomes a built-in part of the industry, then obviously that's not good. So yeah, but the word was that it was a vote at the company. The overwhelming majority said they wanted to crunch to get it out. Take that for how you want to interpret it, but I guess that is something more than just we're making you do this, and also the fact that they're getting paid, and hopefully getting paid time and a half and not just their normal salary.
The only other anecdotal thing I could say is that we've met a couple of devs from CD Projekt over the years, and they seem like just a very chill, cool group of people, like that, but also like, I don't know how to describe it. You get people like, we used to get people come through Good Game who felt like they were nervous, and they were a cog. They were like part of even if they were a developer, they were coming with notes from someone above them.
Yep.
Whereas I feel like every time we spoke to a Polish person, they were, if not drunk, high on fermented cabbage, and just like all about they never felt like they had any directive from above.
Yeah.
They were just like chill and cool and loved what they did, and also it felt like they just would talk back if they felt like if they felt like they didn't want to crunch, they would just tell their bosses to fuck off, kind of thing. I don't know. That's just a vibe I got. But
or they just sent out the people that have that vibe, and all the people who are crying, they just keep in the studio.
yeah. They get locked up and chained up to their computers.
So there you go. Well, they will only have a couple more weeks, and then the game's out, and then they can all start crunching to get the multiplayer done. Moving on, and it's time for Baldur's Gate stories. I love this. So Baldur's Gate, one of the best parts of Baldur's Gate, reportedly, is the character creator. Steph even said it when we were talking about the show last week. She loved the character creator, spent far too much time in that character creator. There are just so many options. And then Larian Studios released a graphic over the weekend, which was a look at the most popular choices in character creation. So Larian announced, before the fixes, let's share something you've created yourselves. This is your own fault through your choices in character creation. We took the most popular choices in our character creator and recreated this. We thought our analytics system wasn't working. We checked. It is. Congratulations. You've basically made the default vault dweller. What the hell, guys? We gave you demon eyes, horns, and even tails. We are sorely disappointed. Go crazy. We worked hard on this. And it's pretty wild that this is what ended up happening.
I think this is the same character generator that the Insomniac team used to create their new Spider-Man.
I think it exactly is. It is wild that this is what ended up being the most popular version of their character.
It's really sad. It's really sad.
It's just weird. I never go with just basic. I always, if there are horns, I definitely have horns. I generally have different colored skin. I always have face tattoos if I can get them, different colored eyes. I'm generally playing as a woman.
Look at this character generator. Like, there's so much. I mean, I probably crossed across at a different time. There's an Aryan elf on screen right now, but it's like it's so detailed and deep.
I did look at. I was like, I need to grab some footage for this. And the video I went to, I opened it up, and it was like, look how great the character creator is for Baldur's Gate. I was like, cool, you show me. And the thumbnail had a red demon woman with horns, and I was like, yeah, cool, this will be the video. And then I skipped through the video, and at the end, the person ends up with basically the one that Larian released, just with long blonde hair. I was like, your thumbnail is this red horned demon woman, and the character you ended up creating was you with long hair. It's ridiculous.
Steph, I think, she spent like 90 minutes in her first pass of the character creator, and then look at that hair.
Look at that.
That's
hair.
Lovely hair.
Grayscale Power says it's basically you guys without the beards. I know, but we don't have a choice about this. And I've got tattoos. I'm getting more tattoos soon. I'm not getting face tattoos, but I have said that if we normalized body modifications a little more, I'd think about getting some weird bumps on my head or something. I'd get some ridges.
I saw a video about that once, and it was like they insert coral under your skin because it actually it grafts to bone well, and so then your skin grows around the coral.
Yeah, it's horrible. That sounds like the most painful thing in the world that will definitely give you an infection. So I won't be doing that, but the rest of it, I'm totally into. If I could choose to look like anything, I probably wouldn't pick this face. I'd probably pick some cool, like, not this face. That's not some like weird hatred about myself, but I'm just like, yeah, if I could look like some sort of demon that also like gray skin demon like that, the people are like, actually, you know what? Even though she has gray skin, she's still banging. That's what I would like to look like. I'd like to look like someone who looks at my gray skin and is like, you know what? You're still banging. That's all I want. But apparently, you and I are in the minority. See, look at that. You could be that.
There you go. There's some cool stuff.
And instead, you've ended up just being Angus.
I wonder if people.
Dwarves.
No, because it's not even like the default thing that they could. People, I was thinking maybe people just like skipped the character creation because they just want to play the game now. But there's just no way. It's people. It's Gus. This is all Gus's fault.
Yeah, because Gus plays as himself, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely.
And I'm sure he's rolled 5,000 characters in Baldur's Gate already.
Yeah, he's actually just completely skewed the numbers.
Yeah.
So there you go. So when you do get around to playing Baldur's Gate, please be a little more creative and send us
There he is
your
in chat.
hit me up on Twitter and send me your character creator. Show me who you're playing as in Baldur's Gate if you are, or just any game really. I just want to see what you're playing as. Marvel Avengers. Speaking of games that people aren't playing, shedding players apparently. That the number of concurrent players on PC is now regularly lingering around the 1,000 mark, according to Steam charts and Steam database. And this wouldn't normally be a massive story for me, and I still don't think it's a massive story. Crystal Dynamics are confident that people will return once they start putting out some new content, because the end game, even though it seemed like there was a lot there, that new stuff runs out pretty quickly, and it's kind of just going through the same thing and smashing a lot of people up. But the interesting thing for me about this was that Marvel Avengers, unlike something like Anthem or something, had a good single player campaign that I played and was like, oh yeah, that was fun. And I didn't feel the need to continue on. So I don't feel guilty or disappointed that I haven't engaged with the live service part of this game. I feel like they got my money. I paid full, like I did pay full price for this one. Actually, I pre-ordered to get in the beta, but it wasn't a free game, so it's not like that live service tail was the thing they were relying on. And they got people in with the single player. It's just that the live service part is probably something that they promised they would be delivering on, and just they're not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't engage with this game at all. I'm just not that much of an MCU fan, but
it's fun. I mean, it's not the single player was fun, but I'm not going to tell you to go. Like, it's fun. It's fun. It was a fun surprise.
It's Gus again.
It wasn't like there he is. It wasn't like I would go out and play it, but I was like, if you've already bought it and you bought it because you thought the live service part would be good, guess what? It's actually the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, that would be disappointing for people who wanted to spend $80 and play this game for the next 6 months.
Yeah,
because they've got no one to play it with. But if you got your value for it out of the single player, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's interesting, that idea. I feel like maybe they were hoping that there would be a long tail on it, because they've clearly already invested resources in delivering this content. But hopefully it's already covered its costs in selling that game as a full price game in the first place. It's covered its costs, and they were just hoping that this would sort of be a moneymaker for years to come. And maybe not. They also would have had to pay a Marvel license, which I'm sure is not cheap at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is an interesting position that it's like, I feel like I got everything I needed to out of that game. And then they're like, hang on, but we wanted you for way longer. And I was like, well, you probably shouldn't have spent all that time making a good single player. You should have focused on making a good live service game.
And obviously it's not good enough to hold people's attention, but I feel like as well it has lost out on Disney having a bunch of Marvel movies coming out. Like, I'm sure it was relying on getting little hits every time, like Black Marvel Widow was back in the cinema cycle as well, because people are like, cool, I loved watching the movie, and now I'm just going to go and play a bit more. And it didn't even necessarily mean there was going to be crossover content, but just like when my lame version of that is when summer first rolls around and cricket starts, I'm like, I got to play Ashes 2009 for a game. I'll go and play cricket on my computer while the cricket's on the TV. And so, it's that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I just want to get more. I just want another hit of Marvel in this instance. So jumping across to this game, I'm sure, would be spikes in that. And I'm sure the dev team had built their, the management cycle, the dev cycle had been, assigned to, be a recurring thing for this team.
Yeah.
And for them to be in this situation now where they're like, should we be supporting 1,000 players, or should we be putting our energy into trying something new and getting the next thing happening?
Yeah.
Whereas they had originally been assigned for the next 24 months to be supporting and building content for this. Maybe that'll get cut short and they'll start working on something else, or people might get let go because they're not at that point where the studio, they're 12 months away from needing that kind of workforce.
Yeah.
If they stop supporting this thing sooner. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for the studio to see how they react to it. I'm sure they'll have another crack at trying to get people back in, whatever that content drop becomes.
I mean, they already have, they had an established pipeline of content. So it's just about, it's one of those things where you go, well, if your pipeline was established before the game came out, so therefore your pipeline in all likelihood follows the trajectory of the game you've already got. It's not like you go, oh, we're actually saving all the great stuff for the drip feed content that starts coming out. You're probably drip feeding more of the same kind of content before you do a big expansion or something. So if the current content there is not holding people, then the odds of something relatively similar is not good. The biggest thing would be if you can bring some new characters in, even though I guess the issue with the game, from my perspective, and it sounds like from a lot of people, was even though the combat can be really fun with a lot of these different kinds of characters, just the combat arenas and the people you're fighting and stuff just become very repetitive. So you go, well, it doesn't matter how fun this is. If the challenge isn't there, then no, like it's not going to hold up no matter who you're playing as.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of interesting because, like, I have been playing a fair bit of Destiny lately.
I saw you log in last night,
and it's like, I didn't play though. I saw my mates playing and I booted it up and was like, I don't have the will for this tonight. It's such a grind. But it's like, and I went back and watched Friends. Obviously the Bungie gameplay is like some of the best.
Way better.
As far as shooters go. So maybe that's the only difference, is that engaging in the grind is just more fun in a game like Destiny, and they need to find a way to make the grind in this game fun, and they haven't done that because the enemies are too samey, or like I don't even feel like necessarily it's fun fighting enemies anymore in Destiny after 30 hours or whatever. I think it's probably that the game is designed in a way that it's quick to get to things that are going to reward you. Like just jumping into strikes and you just get cycled through strikes, or giving you like there's heaps of bounties and it's like, well, I'm just going to do I'm going to grind the EDZ or Mars or something and do public events and whatever just to tick off bounties, weeklies, that kind of stuff. It's like there's always a different way to engage in the grind quickly.
Yep.
And
for sure.
Having not played Marvel Avengers, maybe it just doesn't have that.
It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the sense of scale when it comes to like an open world that Destiny has, where you're going around these really big arenas that are interesting looking.
Because there's literally he's just running around his little workshop at the moment.
I mean, a lot of this obviously is the single player stuff, but most of the multiplayer stuff is happening on these same maps. And then I think you're totally right on everything you said about Destiny. And then the other thing I would add to the thing that Destiny has is it also is drip feeding a lot of that content and a lot of the things you're chasing. The rewards for those are weapons and outfits that you can only get by doing those things. And the choice that I feel like probably was forced on Crystal Dynamics by Marvel was you need to buy skins, and they need to be approved skins, and you can't mix and match gear. So therefore the stuff you're chasing in which has always been the problem, and which was the problem for me when I started playing the beta of this, was the stuff that I'm chasing is like upgrades that just give me percentage damage increases or whatever, and they don't actually give me meaningful ways to change the way that I look and to change the kinds of weapons and stuff that I have, because Destiny is not an established IP that has like, everyone knows that this character only uses this gun, and so they can use whatever they want, however they want. And I think that they're always going to be limited with how they approach this. And so therefore that drip feed of content is less appealing if it's like, because I love that about Destiny. That's my favorite thing, to go like, I want that. I want to do that quest chain because I want that sniper rifle, or I want to get that achievement or whatever that gets me that helm. And you just don't have that in this. So that's probably a big part of it. few quick things just to round us out. Star Citizen single player campaign not coming anytime soon. Eurogamer had a story where they mentioned the Chris Roberts, Cloud Imperium Games CEO, said on an AMA on Reddit that we still have a ways to go before we are in beta, but everyone on Squadron 42 is working very hard to deliver something great. So the AMA was meant to celebrate Star Citizen's milestone, but among posts about upcoming features for the main game were questions from clearly disgruntled fans who complained about the radio silence around Squadron 42, a game which is 6 years behind its original delivery target.
Yeah. That's not good. No.
And every time I look at anything for this game, and obviously they're not showing off all the cool stuff that they're working on, but I just go, like, if you need another 6 years to realize the vision, then you've got too much money and too much time, or you never had a vision to begin with, and this thing is evolving, and generally speaking, when art constantly has to evolve because you're making it up on the fly, generally that art is not any good.
Yeah, and yes, games are art, but games are also a fuckload of code. And I'm sure like the many software engineers we have in here would know that some fucking lunatic at the helm going like, let's change the way we're making the game today. 6 months into a project. You don't want that. No. Look at this cast though. Mark Hamill. It's just like Gillian Anderson. I want them.
But the problem is they all look like they're so bland. Like everything about this looks like just the most fucking generic space stuff I've ever seen. There is nothing in any of these trailers that I've watched where I go, oh, I can see why Gary Oldman's
more generic.
I can see why. Exactly that. It looks it's that but space. That should be the poster for Squadrons. Yeah, it's just
Star Citizen.
Squadron 42. Sorry, which is the single player. But yeah,
yep.
So we'll see. It'll be another friggin'. I swear it's actually because they keep just casting people from TV shows that they like and then having to figure out how to jam them into a story. So redoing
totally.
it. But
Here he is,
Gary. This game's I can't wait to be wrong about this game, but there's a small part of me that can't wait to be right.
You're right about the game being not going to ever exist. Look at this cast.
Look at this cast. It's insane. It's insane.
God damn. Anyway, let's not look at the cast because we're never going to see the cast in action.
No, we're not.
It's all a sham.
Something else you're not going to see is anything new added to Squadrons. This is EA Star Wars Squadrons. EA's come out and said that, hey, we're not a live service game, and we're not giving you any DLC. There's not going to be any expansion packs. This is one of the few video games by a AAA developer who have gone, you know what? We're done.
And not just any developer, EA.
The most well, we're not done.
The kings
developer.
Of the loot box.
Yeah.
Good.
Look
at this little Ewok bobblehead, though. Imagine how many of those they could sell.
Oh, they could have sold a friggin' fortune. And change the little hologram on the right-hand side that I assume is you calling your partner saying, I'm not going to make it back.
And the Millennium Falcon dangling from the thing as well, a little keychain.
Yeah, and stickers on your ships and stuff. But it's all gone.
DLC for that, please. Please, EA. Let me give you my money, EA. Please.
EA can't do anything right.
I love your business models, EA. Please.
The games that you don't want them to monetize, they monetize. The games that you do want them to monetize, they're like, we are done. We're out of the Squadrons game. They might be working on a sequel. Well, they might not be. Who knows? Squadrons is a weird little thing that's just sort of come out. I think I'm just not used to video games coming out and just being like, that's it.
It is in the Frostbite engine, right? Like, I assume this was like the team that made Battlefront were just like, can we please keep making Star Wars stuff because we have all the assets? And like they just made a deeper like ship-to-ship combat thing, which was in Battlefront. It's just like heaps better in this. Or
because it is the team. It's Motive, and they did Battlefront 2, not Battlefront 1. And then so it totally is that. Like it is. This is the version of the Last of Us spin-off, the Uncharted, Lost Legacy, that kind of, oh, we made a small 8-hour experience based off a lot of the assets that we already made for Uncharted 4. Here's a smaller game and that's self-contained. That's this.
Yeah. And it's so weird. And I'm not trying to give EA ideas, but like release the prequels. Release there's a bunch of ships in that would make sick models, and suddenly you've got a new campaign.
I like that. Lupoid in the chat says EA make all business decisions by trying to upset as many people as possible.
Yeah, I like that. It's such obvious stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't hate it when they have DLC for a game that feels like it could be expanded upon, and and it's obviously selling well, and there's an audience for that, and they're going to want more content eventually. I don't know. It's so weird.
It's very weird. You just can't get a read on them. They're unreadable. And then finally, grossing over $100 million, Genshin Impact recoups its development costs in 2 weeks' time. See, this is the power of the loot box. This is what loot boxes can do. They can get you $100 million in 2 weeks in a game where Nick has never bought a single thing, and this is definitely in my top 5 games of the year. It's
you see how easy it is to make money?
It's astounding. It's an astounding amount of money. It's the biggest. All
you need to do is put every single Starfighter pilot in
Genshin Impact.
Little miniskirt.
There you go. That's all you needed to do.
Instant multi-millionaires.
That's all you needed to do. Without a doubt, Genshin Impact is the most successful launch for an original IP from a Chinese dev. So that is a pretty staggering amount of money in a game that obviously has tons of loot boxes in it that you don't really need to engage with if you don't want to, which makes it even more staggering that that's how much money people have put into it. But yeah, so there you go. Genshin Impact just continuing to kick goals.
Woo! Absolutely.
We made it.
Good on it.
Oh, that's big news.
It was big news.
It just kept going.
Was big news.
We spent like 45 minutes looking at the inside of a PS5.
Yeah, but it was good.
It was good.
That was my favorite part of the whole show.
I know it was, and that's why I let it run, because I was like, Pete's loving this right now, and it was all interesting. I learned things. Because I'm going to be honest, I skimmed that video the first time. I was just like,
I watched it twice. Once in Japanese, and then once when I realized there were closed captions.
Yeah, once pants off.
Genshin Impact style.
So thank you very much, everyone, for hanging out and spending your mornings with us. Oh, we appreciate you so much. We appreciate you so much for spending your time with us. We appreciate you even more for spending your money on us.
Riff for 30 seconds.
Okay, and there are 2 ways that you can spend money on us. One is by subscribing here on Twitch. And we love it if you do that, because you get some cool emotes coming out, and that helps us. We get some Twitch money from that as well. That's always good. That's the money that we use to pay Little Will to continue existing. But if you want to do something more meaningful, and if you want something in return, then head over to the Patreon at patreon.com/backpocket and become a patron at any level, any tier you want. $5 or more, you get access to the Discord and our wonderful community. $10 or more, you get access to the post show on Thursday nights, which is choice content. $25 or more, you can give us content to put on the show. $50 or more, we will make yourself into a logo that featured on the show. $100, you get a commercial made about you, and $250 tier, which is currently sold out, but maybe we'll open up another one, is you get to own a segment of the show, and that's by far our best tier. And you want to help that dog too.
Yeah, and at the $10,000 tier, we'll give you Scardy.
There you go. I mean, is breeding season coming up.
Oh, we could give Scardy pups.
We could give Scardy pups.
We do want a breeder.
Is that a thing? Are we allowed to do that? Is that in the terms of service for Patreon that we can?
Well, we don't own the pups that she has, but we could buy them and sell them at a profit. We could become black market dog traders.
Oh, that's good.
That feels like a good business move for us.
I've always wanted. Yeah, so then we could get some. We could get some chickens and make them fight each other. Yeah,
like Pokemon.
Yeah, so that's what we'll do. Okay, Scardy Pups is amazing, and I cannot be trusted, says Chaotic Owl. So there you go. That's all the ways that you can support us, and we'll support you by continuing to bring some levity into your days, weeks, and months as we racket towards the end of the worst year that any of us can remember. So thank you very much, everyone, for hanging. Tomorrow we've got it's Squadrons tomorrow.
Squadrons is going to play out tomorrow.
That's right, on the YouTube channel. Then on Wednesday, we'll have the Somewhat Daily Backup again. Thursday, we've got the show. There's just a ton of stuff coming, and we can't wait to see you all again.
And we'll raid the Savo. I mean, is it afternoon? No, we'll raid this morning. Miles the Ross.
Yes, let's do it.
Of all the generic white men, he is by far the sweetest, sexiest, and most British.
How about the raid message can be, "You're our favorite generic white man."
Yes.
That's the raid message.
He'll love that.
He will love that. And he'll take it as how it was intended, which is... I don't actually quite know, so we'll just have to see.
It's Miles. Is he Miles the Ross?
He's Miles the Ross.
Yeah. All right. Let's go see him.
All right, let's go see him, and we'll see you guys again on Wednesday morning. Back it out.
Back it out.